just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Bloke Beer. It is the beer of Australian sport. Get into your local celebrations, Liquor Legends, IGA Plus Liquor, Bottle-O, you name it. Bloke Beer is in it. If they haven't got it there, just ask them to order some more in. Probably sold out. It is a beautiful, easy drinking beer. We've also got a mid-strength as well. Head to our website, bloke.shop or blokeinabar.com for our store locator. Grab a case of Bloke Beer, the beer of Australia. Beer for blokes that turn up for family, mates and good times. Aussie spirit in a can. With that out of the way, I've got the big fella here, Tyson Gamble. How you going, brother?
Good, mate. If that was off the top of your head, that was unbelievable. I was just in shock then. That was so good.
Bro,
well done.
When you repeat it as much as I do, it's just...
I was going to say, that was hectic. I would never be able to do that.
No, trust me, it's like anything. It's like you play enough footy, you're calm in certain situations. If you podcast enough, like I forget what it feels like to not realise there's cameras there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas... when I started, I was aware there's a camera there, there's a mic here.
So it makes it way more intimidating.
Way more intimidating.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it doesn't even register that camera's there. This is going to go out to tens of thousands. It doesn't even register. Mate, but how you been after the year that you had? How's it been?
Yeah, good. Good. It was good to get away. Obviously, first few weeks once the season finished. But reflection on the year for myself, it was probably one of the better years we've ever had.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
And like that feeling of, because I understand... when you're trying to fight your way into first grade, just that kind of, for me anyway, it's almost that when you have a really good season, that off season of almost like letting your breath out, like, oh, I actually did it. Like I did something that I thought I could do and maybe some people didn't think I could do, play really good footy in NRL.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I played 22 of the 27 games. I think I missed the first game, didn't get picked. Thanks, Adzi. And then I got knocked out against Manly, so I missed the following week. So pretty happy with how the longevity of the year I had, and I've obviously did something right to stay in the team, which is a bonus. But yeah, pretty happy with how the year went. Obviously, the way we finished was obviously not ideal, but to get to where we were with 9 games to go, it's a fair achievement.
What's it like being a part of a wave like that, especially at a special club like Newcastle, where there are clubs that say, "Oh yeah, our fans get behind us," but Newcastle's a very unique kind of setup.
Yeah, Newcastle's unbelievable. Like I was at Brisbane before, so I knew kind of what it's like to play for a one-team town, one-team city. But going to Newcastle, like they ride you to the death. Like even when we were losing games at the start of the year, midway through the year, like they were still turning up. Yeah, we weren't quite getting 39,000 or 30,000, but there was still 20,000 people there rocking up when we were still sort of sitting below or not in the top 8. Yeah. But yeah, those 9 games, the last 3 games to finish the season when we had 3 home games was some of the best crowds I've ever played in front of. Yeah. Ever. Especially the last game. I think the last game was it Cronulla or?
The last game would have been Raiders.
Right. Oh yeah, the Raiders of the final. Yeah, that was unbelievable. Yeah. Because it was such a tight game. Like everybody was on the edge of their seat. Yeah. My heart was dropping. And I was playing. So I don't know how anybody else watching it was copping it, but it was, it just to get the win as well, first home final since I think 2006 it was. Yeah. It was,
cool.
Yeah, something that'll probably stay with me for the rest of my life.
When do you think it clicked for you guys this year, where you go, you know what, we could not only just make the 8, but you guys, by the end of the year, I felt like you were playing top 4 footy, and that's something that I don't think even the most, I guess, dedicated Newcastle fan could have predicted that there was a period there where you were playing genuine top 4 footy, could genuinely take... I mean, you beat the Melbourne Storm towards the end, close-ish to the end of the year. Yeah. When did you realise, oh shit, we actually can make a push here?
I think earlier in the season when we took Penrith to Golden Point, that was a massive realisation within the squad that we were like...
Penrith.
Yeah, we're 3 minutes away from beating them or 2 minutes away from beating them. But you can't try and beat Penrith by a point. You've got to you got to play 80 minutes against them. But for myself, that was a realization that when we play well and when we do what we do well, we can take it to the best teams in the comp. Yep. But for the team, I think it was that Dogs game.
Yeah. Okay.
We realized everything that we did in attack clicked. And I think the holding them to 0 was a massive thing for us because our attack obviously worked and then we proved that defensively we could stop teams. Yeah. And it showed, I think, the last 20 seconds of that game, the Dogs were a very big chance of scoring in the corner. And our left back rower made the tackle to stop it, Fitzy. So, yeah, it shows, and you can sort of pinpoint one game, but there was tougher games that we played that we sort of didn't win as well.
It's see, I looked at those games where I think your first turning point personally, and I copped a lot from the Knights fans for it. It wasn't the actual game; it was the couple of weeks after. But it was when you played the Dolphins, and you're in the game with about 15 to go, and then they put like fucking 16 points in or something.
Yeah, I know.
And I would come on the show, and I was like, "That's not good enough." Like I think you're missing some players, and I was like, "They are way better than this." Like to be in the game and to get pumped in the last 10, it's not good enough. And a few of the Knights fans like that's bullshit, blah blah, which is fair enough. And then I think the next couple games you came out and you showed like grit and fucking good, like strong defense and that. I think that's like for me, like looking on where like kind of a kernel in your mind where you realise like we can't be that side that just like lets the last 10 minutes go on. That's not who our DNA is. And by the end of the year, as you said, like your defence was some of the best in the comp. I think even if you compare, your back end of the season, it's like top tier defensively. Yeah.
Well, that was so we had a new defensive system that we were trying to learn through the preseason.
Yeah, okay.
And like it was we didn't really pick it up the way we probably should have. Like we had a lot of new boys playing.
Yeah.
Like we had a lot of players in the middle that didn't really do much of preseason. Like Adam Elliott was injured a lot of it. Jack Hetherington was injured for a lot of it. Kalen was he was defending in the front line, and then he did his calf in preseason last year. So we had a lot of ins and outs of like pretty key players.
Yeah.
And I don't think we really picked up that defensive system until we got a lot of like clarity within the team. We weren't getting injuries. We got to stick with the same 17 or like one or two players being in and out of position. Like we got to stick with that, and we really worked out a way for it to work for us.
Yeah.
And it sometimes that takes a couple months to really pick up, because there could be games when like blokes get injured or like HIAs, people get sent off, so it throws things out. But so halfway through the season, I think that's when we really nailed our role and realised that what we had to do to get our defence right.
It's like, it's almost trust in it, eh? It's not necessarily like, can we do it? Like, of course we can do it. We're fucking footy players. But it's almost like everyone agreed, this actually works when we all buy into this system kind of thing.
Building the trust is like, I know it sounds a little bit cliche, but trying to build trust with somebody that you don't usually defend with is extremely hard.
Oh, mate, 100%.
Very hard. Like, it's hard I feel like defensively, your back row and your centre positions are like one of the hardest. Like your back row's got to defend in the middle as well as defend with his edge. And your centre probably has to make the most decisions or the hardest decisions. Because if he jams and misses, he gets sprayed. If he doesn't jam and it's a 3-on-2, he's like, well, why didn't you jam? So I played a lot on the left at the start of the end, a lot on the right. And sort of once we swapped, it was sort of hard those first couple of weeks to build that. But yeah, by the end of it, it worked, and it's weird. I had Frizz and Gags on either side of me, so it was easy for me. But they had to learn how to defend with me, and you learn different things of different players as you sort of play longer with them. Yeah. So it took a little bit, but as you said, like the last sort of I think 6 or 7 rounds, we were one of the best defensive teams, especially on our try line anyway. Yeah. In the comp.
Yeah, it's like another example. So I used to love defending outside Darius Boyd because he was just real simple. He's either going in or he's sliding. There was no, you could argue that sometimes you can be too structured in defence, but with Darbs, it was always like very clear what he was doing. So as a winger, you followed what he did. Yeah. Whereas Hodjo was way different. He had like an intuitive kind of feel for the game. So he used to do like little things like dummy to jam in, then take a step back. And so all these little things that, if I had a bit longer with Hodjo, I would know when he's being serious. And actually all come down to, now they would have scored anyway, there was a 3 overlap, but in a semi against Melbourne Storm, Lockie jams in, Hodjo does the dummy, steps back, but because I see Lockie go and I see Hodjo dummy, I sprint in, and then I get left in no man's land. Yeah. And that's all just time. Like if I had been with Hodjo for a little bit longer, I would know. And that's just an example of trust. Like it sounds cliche and it's like 100% true. Yeah. 100%
it's
true.
Never say it just doesn't happen overnight. Like it takes a few weeks of practice. I know you get pre-season, but pre-season's pre-season.
It's not the same.
You're getting pumped in con and then trying to do it. It's not like.
And also, when they're attacking you, they're not attacking you the way a team attacks.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a bit sort of, it's almost like 80% at training. And like, you know the shapes that are coming because they're your own shapes.
Yeah.
So it's a bit easy to defend. But when you're defending a team, it runs different things, has different players that are better at different things. It's hard, but it's just one of those things that, build over time.
Yeah.
And we got it right towards the end.
And so what about, so you reckon the Bulldogs game is when it all kind of clicked for you guys. What was your favourite part of this year personally, individually?
Individually, probably going back to that Penrith game that we lost at home. I kicked the field goal to put us up in front. But regardless of the result, that game finished and the Newcastle chant was like, we just lost. And all the fans stayed and were like chanting Newcastle.
Yeah, wow.
Like, I don't think there's too many fan bases that will chant your team after losing a game.
No.
And like, that for me was why I wanted to go to Newcastle. Like, they, as I said, they're ride or die. When you're winning, they love you. But if you're losing, like, they'll let you know too.
Yeah.
But to have them like love us after we've just lost was like unbelievable. Like, that's why you play footy for your fans. Massive reason. And to have them to have our back like that and be proud of us after a game we lost it kind of sends like shivers down your spine a little bit because we were heartbroken that we lost that game because we were so close. Like, we probably should have won. But that for me was a highlight of this year.
Yeah. What about seeing KP's journey this year? You know, going from a guy that a lot of people go and as a mate, you're sitting there going, I just want what's best for you. If it's never to play footy again and that's best for your head, sweet.
Yeah.
At the same time, if it's to play the best footy you've ever played, which you ended up doing, that's also cool. What was it like being a half with KP?
It was cool in preseason because like we didn't have Lockie Miller for a lot of the preseason, so KP was actually training at half and I was at fullback, so I kind of got which I haven't really played much of, but it was kind of cool because I kind of got to help him in aspects that he didn't quite really understand yet. Because he obviously really loves to play on the left side of the field, like that's his go-to. But it was hard getting him to come and play both sides because he's so good. And like at the end of the year at fullback, he was sort of forced to play both sides. Yeah, and he played his best footy. But with the head knock kind of thing, it was tough to see because I played the game where it happened at the Tigers. It happened right in front of our bench, and like you heard it, and it was like whoa. Like,
wow.
The way he walked off the field, like it was sort of heartbreaking. And like we won that game, but to see how devastated he was, not just for the team, and like he was just kind of like really like another one. Yeah, it was sort of heartbreaking to see him like that because he is generally one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Yeah, like my first day in Newcastle, I met him at a restaurant, and he was like, "Oh, I'll message you on the weekend. We'll come for a beer." Yeah, and I'd known him all of 10 minutes. Yeah, and he asked me out for a beer on the weekend and like showed me around Newcastle and actually spent some time with me to get to know me. So that was the first meeting of any player in Newcastle. Yeah, wow. So it meant to be obviously being Kalen Ponga too, like the captain of the club, and him just being who he is. Mate, it meant a lot to me. I actually felt comfortable early. Like I didn't really have to break down too many barriers or be in my shell for too long, which was good for me because I don't really like that. But to see where he come from, obviously having the 6 weeks off and coming back into playing and to play the way he did at the end of the year is a testament to how hard he works. Yeah, he's mate. I just hope it just stays like this because this is where he belongs. You know, like superstar of the game, playing hectic footy. Yeah, he's so good for rugby league. Okay, that game against the Raiders, you know, you played really well. I thought anyway. Was there a moment when you thought that you might lose this? Like you might have been ambushed by the first 25 minutes. Yeah. And it was my first finals game. I think it was a lot of our team's first finals game. So we didn't really know what to expect. Well, finals footy is like a whole new season. It's like, it's like a, you kind of hear that being said from players and like commentators and all that sort of stuff. But you're like, how different can it be? Like I've done this for 26 rounds or 27 rounds. Like it can't be that different. Yeah. But it is different. So different. Like from the first kickoff, like the intensity, the expectations of your fans want you to win. You're at your own home. Like you've got the home field advantage. You've got everything. Like you've got everything to lose. Yeah. Especially when you're expected to win as well. And we played awful. Yeah. Awful. Like we couldn't hold the ball. Like defensively, or missing tackles that we would usually make, and put ourselves under a lot of pressure. But I think they had a field goal opportunity at the end of that game, and I think the Matt Croker or Frizz knocked it down. But I didn't move, I don't think, off the line. I was just staring at him like, surely not. Yeah. But that game was a little too close for comfort for me.
What was the half time rev up from Orion like?
It was actually not that bad. Like he didn't spray us, but you could tell like it was very direct.
Yeah.
Like very direct. Like he wasn't stuffing around. Like he was like, what kind of what he's doing? Like you haven't done this for the last 9 weeks.
Yeah.
What he's doing? And like just told exactly what we're going wrong, exactly what we needed to do to fix it. And we sort of went out and did that. And we lost Jacko in that first half, which everyone was sort of, I think we were all a little bit confused, like what was going to happen there. And even I was confused because I kind of knew the way we play, like our halfback plays on the ball.
Yeah.
And on our bench we had Kurt Mann, so he was kind of going to come on and play the 6 role, and I was going to play as on the ball. But nobody really said that to me, so I was like, "Oh, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen?" So I think that first like 5-10 minutes of that half we were a bit rattled, but everything clicked into gear. I think Kalen took control of that game more than anyone else. Some of the things he does. Unbelievable.
100%.
Yeah, he definitely deserved. Like I know it's hard with the Dally M, obviously everything that happened, but in my eyes, I'm probably biased because he's like I played with him. I think he definitely deserved those last 9 games. Without him, like I know it's a team effort, but without some of the things he can do on the field, I don't think we win some of those games.
Oh, for sure,
Not at all.
It sucks that there was such an incredible narrative around Sean Johnson.
Yeah,
I think people would have been more. It would have been less controversial if it wasn't Sean Johnson. It was just like another gun that had played this well. But everyone wanted to see the guy that, was pretty much on retirement, pretty much going to quit the game.
Everyone was sort of telling him that he like retire kind of thing.
Yeah, and so it was the journey I think that people fell in love with.
Yeah,
you'd sit down and make arguments of should the system change, should the system not change. But to say that KP wasn't absolutely phenomenal and the best player in the competition, or at least one of the best, it's just not true. Like
I think it hurt Sean Johnson as well that like Adam Blake was polling a lot of points, and we didn't really have necessarily anyone polling 6 points, 5 points, 4 points. Like if we were getting points, Kalen was getting points.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of thing, and that's it is kind of hard to have that other player that's really good. But like it's not saying that we don't have a player that's really good, but
KP's just so good.
Kalen's a freak. Like Kalen's probably top 5, whatever, in the NRL, like best players. Like, and when you saw that at the back end of the year, so it's sort of hard to take. Who was really going to take points away from him for us? Like he was having line breaks. He was running 200 meters. He'd have 3 try assists and a try. Like,
crazy.
He's going to be getting the points regardless of what else happens.
And I think if you love yarns, like he's a guy that in his first year would have won the Dally M if he didn't do his hammy. KP, 5-6 years later or whatever it is, finally, like when you think it's. You're actually at the point looking at KP going, could this superstar not become everything we thought he was going to be? And at the dying breath where the head knocks, people are saying you've got to quit footy forever. He goes, boom, turns it around, wins a Dally M. Like that's an incredible story.
It's a fair story. I don't even think he expected to even go as close as what he did. Like you saw his face when his name was announced. He was like kind of really like. But I sort of felt like going into like those last few rounds when they were given the points in the Dally M, I was like, Kalen's probably going to win. Like, looking back at the games, like the only game he didn't play for us was the Dragons game, the last one. But before that, he was easily our best player. Yeah, the best against South, the best against the Sharks, the 2 weeks prior, where he definitely would have polled 6 points. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It was cool to have to be a part. This is probably a bit selfish. Like, it was cool to be a part of his season and feel like I kind of helped him get it. Yeah, it's probably weird to say.
No, you're just fine. You're absolutely
it's kind of weird to say, but it sort of gives you you feel good in yourself knowing that you helped your teammate. Like it's an individual award, but you want to be able to help your teammates win those.
Yeah, for sure.
In the
and you can
the season.
20 years time, when you're sitting in a pub.
That's my claim to fame.
Mate, I was 6, one of the best years ever for KP. So incredible year. Look, there was some controversies as well. Look, this is not a big deal to me, but I think that a lot of people listening will just want to hear your thoughts of it. So obviously, Willie Mason came out on a podcast. He had his opinion. I don't think anyone had an issue with having his opinion on saying, where he thought you landed in the halves pairing. I think people were a bit shocked at the aggressive nature of the opinion, which is okay, that you might be nitpicking there. But anyway, so he basically said that. And when I say aggressive, I'm being a bit facetious. He was just like shit. He said they were shit instead of they're not the best or whatever. And that's so if you're worried about, anyway, whatever. So basically Willie Mason came out and said that without KP, you guys are the worst spine in the competition and no one's doing video on you boys. And so he said that. Now, I've spoken to Scope since, and I think Scope kind of said to me, I think he was trying to say like in that top 8 bracket.
Yeah.
But anyway, it came out as if you were the worst spine in the competition. Me personally, I disagree with that. I thought that was like literally factually incorrect. I pointed to the game against Penrith where you guys 1 point, full strength Penrith sides. Anyway.
Yeah.
So where were you when you saw that video? And I'm sure all your mates were just like sending it to you.
I was just at home. So I think it came out on a Wednesday or something before we played. I was just at home and like, I don't really take those kind of things personally, believe it or not, after coming out what I said, but like, I'm pretty cruisy. Like, obviously, it wasn't really nice to hear, but like, things get said about you all the time. Like, I've had worse things said to me on a night out or on the footy field. Like, it's not really that big of an issue, but like, kind of was tough to hear about yourself. But it's sort of one of those things. Like, it depends on how you take it. Like, do you take it and use it as a bit of motivation, or do you take it and like think, oh well, sort of poor me. Like, how can you say that about me and my teammates, kind of thing. So. Yeah, my partner sent it to me as well, and she thought it was funny, which is nice. She just laughed at me, but yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I think I used it as motivation in the game because I think that was leading into our first finals game.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Regardless, it was a big game because you're playing Sharkies. I think then you played the Rabbitoh Sharkies, I think.
Yeah, and then I think we finished with the Dragons, but we didn't have our full spine playing that. It was one of those games. So I think we used it as a bit of motivation. Well, I did.
Yeah.
It was definitely the Raiders game because I had family after the game in the sheds with me and a few mates down there having a beer.
Yeah.
And I just finished like an interview about the game and sort of as the bloke was leaving, asked me about it. And like I was with my mates. I just won a game of footy. Like I was having a beer, like enjoying myself. And that's when I said what I said.
So basically you said, so the game's over, the journo's packing up. The journo's basically walking away.
Yeah.
And then he asked you the question and then you said, oh, tell Willie to get fucked or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And like I was genuinely, like I'd turned back to my family and all my mates. I think I had 5 mates there, my mum and dad, partner. Like we're all there having a beer, enjoying it. I just finished it, turned back to him. And then he like asked me the question. And then I said what I said, like having a beer, like laughing, enjoying my time. I just won my first finals game ever that I've played in. Like it was never...
It was banter. It sounds like
to
in
me,
the context,
that's
it was
the
banter.
way I wanted it to come across. But like the way it come out in the media was like I stoned serious face, just went like at him.
Get fucked.
Yeah, which is not the way. But
because when you read the quote, it does go from 0 to 100 real quickly.
Really quick.
It's like, look, he's got his opinion, blah 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 blah
and
blah.
then bang.
Tell him to get fucked.
Yeah. Look, I am not really happy with the way I bit to what he said. Like obviously. I don't take that sort of thing personally. Like it's never really like an issue. Like say what you want, it's all good. But the way I bit to it is what I'm more annoyed about because like that's why it was in the media for so long. Like if I don't say anything back to it, no one really cares a week later. But so because I bit to it.
When you say like, I'm just trying to put in context for people listening. You're sitting there, you're having beers. It's over the shoulder. Tell him to get fucked.
Proper over the shoulder. Like he was walking behind me and I just turned around like I was my chest was facing into a group of people. Like and I just said it over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Like smiling, having a giggle.
Yeah.
Like it was never like I just said to him, like, make sure you write this. So I'm saying this, like this is what I think about it. Like it was never a personal attack, but the way it came out was I'm attacking him. Which isn't the way I meant it kind of thing, but it's too late now. It's too late now. It's they're not going to make it come across like I was being really nice about it and I was joking because that's not going to get as many clicks into it. It's not going to become as big of a thing as what it did.
Isn't it like funny how, Willie, what he was trying to say, and he's a little different because he said it and there was like, you got cameras and you can see it. But like, so much things can get like lost in translation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that if you like, you are sweet now, it's water on the bridge. But if you sat down and just talked about it, you'd be like, yeah, sweet man, that's your opinion. Yeah. And then you'd be like,
things are perceived in a different way when you don't have a camera. Like he's obviously on his podcast. I'm doing it with one of those recorders.
Yeah.
Like, and then old mate's written a story about it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I felt like it painted me in a bad light. Like I'm not that type of person. Like you see me on the field and I'm a bit of a wanker. Like I'll get in somebody's face and I'll talk a lot of shit. But off the field, I feel like I try to be the total opposite to that. Like I try to be nice. Like I'm not gonna just spray somebody for the sake of spraying them.
So the way you saw Willie's comments were just like, oh, that's his opinion. Like it sucks, but like sucks he feels that way.
Yeah.
But that's his opinion, and I'm gonna try to prove that opinion.
Like I think Phoenix and I spoke about it. We were just like, look, let's prove him, like, bit of like, let's prove him wrong. Because him and I were a bit in the same boat. Like, neither of us had, like, I think he'd played 50 games and like I still haven't played 50 games. So we're pretty young into like our careers still. And we were just like, sort of let's, like, it's not us. Like, let's prove him that like they have, or like we deserve to be like given our recognition, I guess, for what we've done this year.
Yeah.
So it was used between us and even Jacket. We're like let's prove him wrong kind of thing. So it was a bit of a slap in the face, but sort of something that helped, I guess, throughout the whole week of training.
Yeah.
Because you hear that about yourself and you're like, no, it's not me.
Yeah. Well, you're a competitor.
Like, I felt like I proved that year that I had done something. I was doing something right. I had to have been doing something right somewhere on that field. So yeah, I know that without Kalen, and like as we go back to, we probably don't win for some of those games, but that's the whole idea of having a superstar in your team, isn't it?
Yeah. Or 100%. And also, like, you say that about a lot of teams, you know?
Yeah.
So, it was, mate, it was such big news. Okay. And then that all happens. But then the problem is that he sees that quote and he thinks, oh, this bloke wants to talk shit.
Yeah.
And then he talks shit about you.
Yeah.
And then at this point where you're like, look, I just don't even want to talk about this anymore. Like, let's just move on.
Yeah. Well, I think what did he say? Like, there was not as big a hole that.
Yeah. So, like, basically, it was a 70th minute of the Warriors game. You had lost. You hadn't played that well. And he basically said, oh, basically, it's not a big enough hole. He just sprayed you up pretty much.
Which is fair. Fair considering like he didn't really realise what, like the context that I was saying. He only saw it like I was attacking him. And that's all well and good. That's why I didn't respond. Like there's nothing to respond to. Like it was, I said what I said, it come out the way it did. But obviously he's entitled to his opinion that he had and to say something back. But I was like, sweet. Fair enough, we lost. Probably right. Yeah, we lost. I didn't play great, so yeah, tick that box. You win. You win. I'll concede that one.
It's good that it's all good now though, because
water under the bridge now. We've spoken, like it is what it is. Like we sort of just cleared the air. Like I even said, like I felt like the medium portrayed that in a way that it wasn't meant to.
Yeah.
And he sort of was like, yeah, understandable. Like it's done. Yeah, it's water under the bridge. Like we both sort of we both realised that it probably was a bit bigger of a deal than it needed to be.
For sure.
Just water under the bridge. Like, yeah, it's sweet now.
We're going to post this snippet, only this snippet, and just we're going to bring it all back.
Yeah,
baby.
perfect. Start
we're
it
going to
again.
bring it all back.
Yeah, perfect. Start it again. Can't wait.
No, we won't snippet this bit. We'll keep this in the podcast. Like things like this, I always keep in the podcast because like we could easily release way more engaging snippets from our podcast, but I don't do that because I like to give the person that's coming on the podcast the full context of the conversation rather than going, oh, here's 2 minutes of Tyson talking about it. Whereas if they go to the podcast, they can listen to the whole where it landed in the convo, how important it was to the podcast. Whereas if we were to release this snippet to the, like, let's say this is the first snippet we released, everyone would think that the podcast was about just that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas if you keep it in the podcast, people listening right now will go, oh, this is just a small part of it.
Yeah, how we got to it, like the context of it all. 100%. Just talking about it.
Mate, so like had an incredible year, but growing up, obviously born in Brizzy.
Yeah.
Was you like? Did you play multiple sports? You seem like you would have been quite an active kid.
Yeah. So I was born in Redcliff, so I grew up always around.
I'll make sure to differentiate.
Yeah. I was born in Reddy. Yeah. Growing up, my brother always played footy. My dad was always around footy. Like I have touched wood, haven't missed a year since I was 7.
Yeah, wow.
So it's been almost 21 years next
Far
year, which is a
out.
long time.
Right.
But yeah, always rugby league, always. My brother played. When I was playing, my dad was my coach for majority of my junior years. The footy was always a thing. Played a lot of touch. Other than that, like it was just always footy based. I was never into cricket or anything like that. That was never me. It was just touch footy or footy.
Yeah.
And then I was tagged like when I hit high school and that. Yeah. But when I hit high school, like didn't take footy seriously. Like
okay.
I think I was playing like from under 13s or whatever to 16s. Like I didn't even play a very high div. Like it was Div 3 or whatever in Queensland. Like we never really played a great division of football to get that sort of recognition.
Yep.
And like my last year of high school, like a couple of my mates that I played with and played juniors against, like Jaden Nicarima and stuff, they had all signed like their 20s deals to Brisbane and stuff like that. And I was like just playing local league footy at Redcliffe there for about. I wasn't even like signed to a senior contract or anything. So yeah, I sort of didn't really take footy seriously. And then my first year out of school was when I started taking it a bit more seriously. Sort of grew a pair, I reckon I would say. And actually decided to have a dig. And my first year outside of school, I ended up finishing the 20s, the Colts year with Redcliffe.
Yeah.
And we won a grand final, which is pretty cool. I played the last 7 games of the year. Like I didn't do a preseason with them, didn't do anything, and then played the last 7 games because there was a lot of injuries that they had. And ended up winning a grand final.
Were you 6 or 7? Playing 6 or 7?
I was 6.
Yep.
6. So that was a bit of the way I come into footy was a bit weird because I think I was playing under 18s like a premier grade at Redcliffe, like working, getting on the piss and then going footy.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really something. Like I took it seriously, but I hadn't even signed a senior deal.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the back end of the year, I'd signed a contract to play like 20s at Redcliffe.
Yep.
Which is a big deal for me. Like first senior contract, got paid to play.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
This is the best.
Yeah, I'm working and getting paid to play footy.
Yeah. What'd you do for work?
At that time, I was an apprentice shop fitter.
Oh, okay. For a shop fitter.
Didn't finish that because I was awful. Shocking.
Mate, shop fitters.
Shocking.
Charge an arm and a leg, shop fitters.
Yeah, well, I wasn't getting paid enough. I was a first year apprentice. I was at $8.30. My first wage straight out of school, which was awesome. But yeah, then from then I signed a couple years at Redcliffe. The following year played 20s again.
Yep.
Then my last year 20s, they wanted me to play against men, so I played A grade, BRL A grade.
Yep.
Won a grand final that year, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
First time playing against men.
So in A grade, you won the grand final.
So I think I was 19 or 20 playing A grade, which I guess it was cool they wanted me to play, but my first few games I was appalling. So bad. I didn't want to tackle. I didn't want to tackle a grown man. I was 20, like shitting myself.
Yeah.
But like it all worked out at the end. I ended up playing some pretty good footy at that back end of that year. The following year I played Queensland Cup, got my debut.
So when you start playing local with the men, A grade, where's your head at with footy then? Is it more just like, look, I love playing footy, or are you starting to go?
I was always like, I just wanted to play Cup.
Okay.
Because Cup was a big thing.
Yeah.
Like I was a kid and I think it was on ABC.
Yeah.
In Queensland.
Well, you would have been
2 o'clock on Sunday Arvo. So
you would have been growing up watching Clydesdales versus Redcliffe have mad battles.
Yeah. So I used to grow up and like Sunday Arvos, it'd be on ABC 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Before the NRL kicked off at 4 o'clock. So I'd watch like one game into the other. So when I never really took footy that seriously at that age because I was like, I had mates that were full-time training already, like playing 20s, doing all this. And I was like, well, it hasn't happened yet. Probably not going to happen anyway. So I was always just happy to play Queensland Cup, always. And then I got an opportunity because our Cup team wasn't doing so great. I think in the 2017 season, that was. And then my Cup debut for Redcliffe was with Benji. So when Benji was at the Broncos, and it was his Cup debut, you could say as well.
So you got to debut.
He played fullback and I played in the halves.
He played fullback?
Yeah. Oh, it was weird. Very weird.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it was pretty cool, like pretty cool story.
That's friggin' awesome to say you could play with Benji Marshall.
Yeah. And it wasn't even in the NRL, but it was awesome. I played pretty well. He put me over for a try, which was even better. Cup debut, which is pretty cool.
That's so good.
So it's a bit of a claim to fame of me and Benji.
100%.
It was so weird because I was like, I'd never met an NRL player before. Like,
oh really?
Not really. I'd met a couple that were dropping back from Brisbane throughout the year.
Yeah.
But like, I never played with them, so I was never really that close.
And like Benji Marshall's a different level.
Yeah, Benji's not just an NRL player.
Yeah,
Benji's like
a star.
Yeah, like an idol to a lot of kids. So
and you're in the spine of him, just
and I didn't even know what to say. I was like, hi.
Did you try to tell him where to go on the field?
I don't remember saying anything to him ever. I don't remember running any kind of shape or any kind of plays or nothing. I was just there. I was just playing footy. Like I was like, what the hell?
This fucking six won't give him any good shape.
Yeah. We played a few games together that year in Cup. There was one game when like me and the other half were playing awful, and Benji just came at halftime. He was like, I'm taking over. Okay. I think we ended up coming. We won the game, so it was all right. But I was just like I don't even know what to do. I think it was like my second or third game. And whatever I did was just not working.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm taking over. I was like,
yeah, sweet.
Fair enough.
And he just come and tore apart.
Yeah. And then I think 5 years into that, 5 years, 5 games into my Queensland Cup season, I'd signed to the Tigers.
Yeah, wow.
So that was pretty cool.
So when you found out the Tigers were interested, was that something that like you knew? Did you have a manager at this stage?
Yeah. So I had a manager for a couple of years, but like I was never really good enough to sort of like take me to like an NRL team, like, oh, have a look at this kid.
Yeah, yeah.
But like at that time, I was 21 playing cup in the halves, which doesn't often happen unless you're with an NRL team already.
Yep, for sure.
So it obviously looked pretty good to the Tigers. And yeah, I think they said they were interested like on my third game, and then 2 weeks later I was kind of signed and had a deal done.
When they said, when you got that call from your manager saying they're interested, they've got a contract, what's that feeling like for you?
Like, you know that feeling like when something happens and you just don't know what to say?
Yeah.
And like you just get like a weird sensation through. But I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Really? Because I was like, and then that happened and I told my parents, and like my mum cried, and like, I hadn't even signed anything yet. So I could have taken it away. But like telling my parents that that the Tigers are actually keen, like 2-year deal, like all this, and I'm like even they were a bit taken back.
Yeah, wow.
Because it was sort of like, I was still young. I was only 21, but like it was one of those things, like a lot of the people I was playing with and a lot of kids were sort of debuting at that time.
Well, it's just like, it's so interesting to hear this all come up compared to, because like, as you're trying to allude to, or you've kind of already said, like there's almost like a select group of guns that come through school, they get their contracts in the first grade squads, and they might take a while to debut, or they might step between clubs or whatever, but usually it's like pretty settled. Yeah. And so for you to come through this way, it happens, but not very often does it happen.
Not at all. And like, I didn't play footy in high school. Like, obviously that's a massive step you make, or your regional teams, you play for Queensland, and like that's sort of how you get your name out there. But I didn't even make any regional teams. I barely even made my district teams when I was at school, mate. Like before I hit 12, like I was pretty good, played regional teams, that sort of stuff. But after that, didn't play it at school. Like, I think I tried out once and didn't make it, and I was like, clearly not for me. Clearly not for me at all. But yeah, it all happened pretty quick for me.
And so you signed with the Tigers?
Yeah.
Did you go down immediately, or is it next year?
No, so it was the following year. So I went down for like the back end of 2017 and the pre-season end of 2018.
First grade pre-season?
Yeah. So I was full-time. So I signed to the top 30, not even like a
training trial or whatever.
Yeah, I signed to the top 30, which was... Okay. Even my manager was like, when it happened, he's like, just sign straight away. Like, this doesn't happen.
Just do
sign
it.
Just put your name, sign right there, because this doesn't happen often. Just do it.
Don't talk about money. Don't do anything. Just get it done.
Sweet. No dramas, brother. I'll sign it.
Okay. So you get down to the Tigers.
Yeah.
What's that first preseason like for you?
Well, the first one, it was actually all right, because we had Ivan was a coach then. So I'd met him in Brisbane a couple of times before, like after I'd signed. So it was good. There was no army camps. Like, it was hard, like running wise and that sort of thing wise, but it wasn't like there was no army camps. Didn't really know what that was about. So it was really good. And I started the year in, obviously, New South Wales Cup. Played pretty good. Ended up debuting that year when I was 22. But looking back, there's no way I was ready
to play in a row.
No way.
Yeah,
like I had done what, eight months of full-time training. Like, I still didn't know how to double defend. Like, coming through Redcliffe and that, like, they don't really have time to like really teach you how to do that. So I was just sort of just winging it.
Yeah.
And it took me till like the back end of that year to really learn. Like, Andrew Webster, the Warriors coach now, he actually stood behind me and said, this is where you stand. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And then that's when it sort of clicked in my head.
And just for people listening, double defend is basically you've got a lead runner, you've got an out the back runner, and just putting yourself in a position that if you hit short, you can still get a good shot in him, but also you can release and go to the out the back player. So
it was something no one even spoke to me about it.
Yeah, wow.
I was always just winging it. So I was like, if you hit play short, sweet. Play that back, sweet. Like, it was never really until I got to NRL, and like they play a hell of a lot deeper into the line. So and then I was just like guessing.
Yeah, just making the choice.
And there was like 2 months there, or not 2 months, so a month there where I would give up my inside shoulder like at training a lot. And like, when you do that, everyone's like, oh, can't be doing that.
So, and for listeners, giving up your inside shoulder is letting the lead runner through and just going out the back.
Yeah.
Which is like, you'd rather give up the lead out the back and hope that your centre follows.
You'd rather let them score on the wing than let them score straight through you.
Yeah.
And I was letting blokes run straight through my inside shoulder, like left, right and centre. Like, I was talking 2-3 a session. In games, it would happen because I had no confidence, because it started happening a lot. And then I was like, I don't even know what to do, where to stand, what to happen. And then it actually took Andrew Webster just to literally grab me and just stand behind me when we were doing like our defensive drills and say, this is where you stand. This is what you look at. You track here, like track your defender here, watch the ball, and like, bang.
Keep your hips square, all that kind of
like
stuff.
all the stuff that he sort of said to me. And then it actually started clicking. Like, I sort of got pretty good at it.
Yep.
But it took somebody in my 8 months into my first year being full time to actually break it down for me.
Far out.
So it was sort of just like, you're kind of like expected to know these things. And I guess if you're in a team's younger systems, you learn that. But I was never in anything.
Well, put it this way, there's probably, mate, there might even be 12-year-olds right now learning the Penrith Panthers systems.
Yeah.
Like there genuinely might be 12-year-olds out there right now learning their defensive systems, jamming, like sliding, keeping your body square, keeping your feet moving, which leg to put in, which shoulder, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're younger, just playing footy for fun, you're just doing whatever.
Yeah, you don't have no idea.
Yeah.
Like a lot about footy I learned the hard way. Like game management was not something I'd never even heard of until I went down to the Tigers. Like
Far out. That's
I played 2 years or 3 years before I was even there. I was playing 20s, like just
winging it.
Yeah, like just kicking the ball sort of there because it was last. Putting a bomb up because it was last. Like it wasn't really. There was no thought process behind what I was doing. But it took, a long time. I've been at clubs with some pretty handy halves. Like my first couple of years, I had Brooksy, Josh Reynolds, and Benji. And like you sort of learn a little bit from watching players, but like until somebody sort of sits you down and tells you why you're doing certain things, you sort of. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like you learn little bits, but I need somebody to tell me like what. I don't need it, but like I prefer somebody to tell me why we're doing something, so then I know in my head why we're doing it.
Yeah.
If I'm just doing something for the sake of doing it, I'm just like, no, why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Like why do I play short here for this reason? Like, why?
And then you're overthinking it.
And then that's overthinking is something that I had to get over quickly early on in my career.
Yep. Well, the debut, you said you weren't ready, but it's still an incredible achievement.
Yeah.
Do you remember how it came about?
Yeah. So Benji was out, I think, and Grubb was doing a fitness test, and they said, "Oh, you need to come to training, like just in case." And I was just sort of thinking, yeah, okay, sure, right. So I went to training, and Grubb didn't pass his fitness test, and then like we went into the team, and Ivan was just like, "Oh, Grubb didn't pass his fitness test. Your debut," and I was like. I was like so in shock because I had no thought process that I'd ever be debuting at that time. Yeah. And I was like, holy. I think we played on a Saturday and I found out on like the Wednesday or the Thursday or something. So I went bright red. Like I wasn't embarrassed, but I was like so excited. I didn't know what to do. Yeah. Like everybody, like, you know, when someone debuts, everybody gets around you, and I was like, oh, what do I say? Like, what do I do? Yeah. And like that training, I was like, probably trying to do too much because I thought I had to. Yeah. And then the game, it was Campbelltown, and it was a tornado. Like I'm talking a proper tornado. Like it was so windy. Yeah. Went out for kick catch, didn't kick a ball good at all. Like, and I was just like, no way. Like, what is going on? Yeah. And we wanted to kick to their left edge, and I was playing on the right side. Yep. So I was doing majority of the kicking. Yep. First kick, we were like on the 50-meter line. I kick it, put a bomb up, and it just sails dead. Just keeps going. I'm like really? Like, first thing I do
is terrible.
It's terrible. And then that whole game, man, awful. Like,
not good.
Yeah, like I never really knew about slowing the ruck down, so I was tackling blokes and just straight up, getting a marker, ready to go. Oh no. Yeah, like I had a drop ball, like just didn't.
It's a proper Barry Crocker.
Yeah, like wasn't my finest game, and then the game itself was that bad. I think. Well, we're up 12-10 against Canberra at half time, and they ended up winning like 36-12. Like they ended up putting it on us because we had the win in the first half, so it was sweet. Okay, yeah. And then when we didn't have it, like my kicks were awful. Like they were just going nowhere.
Oh man,
like, everything was just stacking up against us. Like they were scoring tries from kickoffs. Like just things like this wasn't our day, and like the game was that bad. I think we had a bye the next week. The game was that bad we didn't even do a review on it.
Wow,
that's how bad the game was. Oh. And I was like, well, I didn't even played awful my first NRL game, and we didn't review it, so I must have had a shocker.
Oh man!
And then I think I finished the year in that cup season like pretty bad too. Like I was just
your confidence just done.
I think my next few games were bad, but then I sort of come half good. We played finals in the cup that year, but in general, I was
What's that feeling like? You know, you've made your debut, and we always, like on this podcast, you usually hear the triumph of the debut. It went all right, and you're sitting in the locker room, and even if you lose, you're still looking around going, I did it, I played well. But this is very different for you. You're walking off the field going, that was not good.
Yeah, shocking. Shocking. I was rattled. And then, like, I don't know if my parents want me to say this, but you know how you finish your debut and like whether it's good or bad, you go see your family.
Yeah.
My parents got kicked out at halftime. Well, my dad got kicked out at halftime and my mum went with him. So I went there and my brother was there, my partner was there. I didn't even have my parents to see it at the end of the game. So I was like, if this day could get any worse, like what's going to happen? Like, I might as well just stay here. Like, what's going on? So yeah, that was great fun.
So what, he's just drinking, carrying on and...
Yeah, well, wasn't even drinking. Like there must be a thing there where you can't get over a certain amount of beers at one time. And like, because I had 6 people there and like you're only allowed to get 4.
Yeah.
And dad like obviously wanted 6 because there was 6 people. And then I don't know if there was an argument or whatever happened, but this chick was just like, oh, security. He's got to go.
Oh my God. So
Like,
it wasn't even something hectic. It was just like...
it wasn't even bad. Like, it wasn't bad at all. Like, he wasn't even drunk. Like, I finished the game and, like, it was sweet. Like, all good.
Man, rugby league's dead if a bloke can't get, like,
Yeah,
6
and
beers on his kid's debut.
Yeah, it was a bit shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, going there, I still got to see my brother
Yeah.
and my partner and that. But, like, you go after your NRL debut, your parents worked and sacrificed so much to get you to footy, like, on Saturdays and stuff when you're not even an NRL player. And then you finally get to debut. The club's flying them down there, put them up for the night and stuff like that. And then they get kicked out half time. Didn't even get to see him until I had a shower and that after the game.
That is insanity.
Yeah, and the Leagues Club that's near Campbelltown, we went there after. And this is like June, so it's freezing cold, Campbelltown, cold as. My mum wears Ugg boots to the game, like, and she wasn't allowed into West when we had the post game function.
Oh my God.
We had the post game function, all the players, like some of the like and everything like that, and there was like so the big dogs of the team at the time got interviewed, and it was like fans and stuff. My parents had to wait in the car.
So did the club not go, oh no, she's with our players?
No.
What? So it's a nightmare, David.
Oh, awful. So, like, I saw them after the game for a bit, and then I had to go pretty much straight away to the function after. And then that was like an hour. So I didn't, and then my parents weren't there. My partner didn't come in because she was like, oh, I'll stay with your parents. So they dead set went and got a pizza and just sat in the car and waited for me.
Mate, it's gone from funny to fucking sad.
I know. It was awful. It was a tough, bro. Yeah, it was a tough debut all around. Played awful.
Shit.
Parents weren't there to see. Well, probably a good thing they missed the second half, to be honest with you, because we got flogged. But yeah, couldn't see me after the game. Yeah, tough.
Wow.
Anyway, good experience though. Lucky them.
Wow, that is.
Yeah, it's different. It's not usually feel good
inspirational
story. Yeah.
But you know what? It's your story though. That's what's
Absolutely.
fucking mad. And you fucking bounce back, which is the best bit. Okay, so that you debuted your first year, but then you don't play the second year. Do you think that was? And then I'm assuming you don't get re-signed. Well, you don't get re-signed with any NRL club for that following 2020 year.
So 2019, Madge come in.
Okay.
So he was coach there, and then when I was off contract, like, we were trying to re-sign and stuff before the June 30. And they weren't really keen on re-signing. And I wasn't playing cup in the halves, like I was playing sort of centre, hooker.
Yep.
And like I wanted to be a half. So my manager was like, look, you're not playing as a half, so it's going to be hard to get you signed somewhere as a half.
If you're not playing as a half.
If you're not playing there. So we made the decision to leave the Tigers like midway through the season. And I finished the year training trial at Brisbane and just played at Redcliffe.
Oh, okay. So you finished 2019 training trial.
Yeah, finished the 2019 training trial.
And this is when Brisbane had like no halves. We were like fully struggling. As in,
I think so.
Our halves weren't going great.
Yeah, I think that was the year that they made the finals. The last time they made the finals against Para.
And then we got pumped.
Yeah,
50,
I think that was the year I was there. But like, I was there for half the year and I couldn't play because I was training trial. I had to go through
all that stuff.
It wasn't really a thing for me to play. It was more just to keep me full time.
Yeah, okay.
And like training with an NRL team. Because
okay.
if I wasn't training with an NRL team, probably wouldn't have been picked up.
Yeah, okay.
But Brisbane kept me on the next year and I was full time again.
Yep.
But then that was the COVID year.
Oh, far out.
So I didn't play. I lied. I played 2 games that year. 2 games that year.
For the Broncos?
Yeah. So I played. Oh, was it the COVID year? I think it might have been. It was a COVID year because then I played 2 games and I started. Well, first game I was off the bench playing hooker. I've never played hooker before in my life ever. Not once.
What was it like putting on the Broncos jersey being a kid from Brizzy?
So good.
Like
it was so good. Like I think. Yeah. Well, being a kid from Brizzy and my family never went for Brisbane, so I was never really a Broncos fan. But
there's still something special.
Yeah, like it's your hometown.
Yeah, and there was especially, early 2000s, there was a mystique around the Broncos jersey.
100%. And like, it wasn't that the boys had a bad year that year. It was just that, like, for whatever reason, it's kind of masked by that finals game.
Yeah.
To be fair. But yeah, I played hooker against Melbourne at Suncorp.
So you're playing against Cameron Smith.
Yeah. No, I've never played a game of hooker before in my life. Ever.
So your debut for the Broncos was in hooker for Cameron Smith, the guy that they let go.
Yeah. So it's polar opposites. There was actually, like, I've never played hooker. I'd never defended in the middle. It was my second NRL game. Like, it was stacked against me, and it was definitely against me. I was awful. Like, well, sorry, I shouldn't say I was awful, but one of the first things I did, like, Jerome Hughes gets the ball, I get up a bit too far, and my outside dude doesn't get up far enough. So there's like a bit of space, and he bounces past me, steps inside him, and scores under the post. And I was like, oh my god. First involvement, second involvement. Second involvement. First involvement was getting run over by Tino, which is awesome. Second involvement was that, and I was just like, Jesus.
At what point is where's your confidence at this stage? Are you pretty good at just water off a duck's back and moving forward?
I was at the time.
Yeah.
I was awful at that sort of thing. So when I was playing at that time, like, I was really bad at holding on to things and couldn't. If I did something bad, like, I'd hold on to it for a couple of minutes. I couldn't.
But you must have been playing decent footy because you got to start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're just playing well in Q Cup.
I was playing pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're playing for Wynnum, correct?
I was playing for Redcliffe.
Redcliffe.
So I come back and played 2019 for Redcliffe, and like, they weren't sort of doing too good. Not saying it was because of me that we flipped our season around and we played finals.
Yeah.
Did
you play for Wynnum or Wigan out here?
I never played.
I don't know why I thought you'd play for Wynnum.
No, I never
anyway.
played for Wynnum. Yeah. So I was playing pretty good in Cup.
Okay.
Really good in Cup at the time.
At 6.
At 6, yeah. 6 and 7. Like, I did a bit of both.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think for me to debut, I can't remember. There was a lot of injuries at hooker.
Yeah. Okay.
And Corey Paik started, and I was off the bench.
Yep.
I think Terps might have been out. I'm not sure who. Macca was out as well. I think he was out at the time.
Yep.
Can't really remember, but yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
In that game, I'd never seen it. So Cam Smith's on the right side of the field, jumps out of hooker with, like, left foot kick and bends it around and kicks a 40-20 on the right side of the field. I've never seen anybody do that ever in my life. And I was just like, all right.
This is the standard.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's probably why he's one of the best to ever play the game. Like, I'd never seen a player even attempt that.
Yeah.
And he just nailed it.
Like, it was like
it
nothing.
was so good. Left footer on the right, so I just curled it around.
What was it like? I mean, you probably everything was moving a bit too fast for you, but like, to see the master at work just around the dummy half, what was it like seeing that?
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah.
Like, because you don't really, like, I'm obviously a massive Queensland fan. Love Queensland. So when I was watching, it was always like the big, like him, Cam Smith, Billy Slater, Thurstons, Cronks, Lockies. When I was growing up watching Origin, so it was like, it was a bit surreal even just seeing him. Like just being able to look and be on the same, not on the same field, it's different, but just I saw him.
Yeah.
So it was my second NRL game. I saw and I was like, that's Cameron Smith. It's right there. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, you can see why he was one of the best to ever do it. Like, he just never looked tired.
I know, it's weird.
I don't know how he does it.
I don't know how
I get tired and I defend 3 in. He was defending the middle.
Oh, mate, I don't know how he did that.
Yeah, so that was a bit of an experience, that one. I think we ended up getting pumped that game. We scored the first try and then it ended up being like 48-6 or something like that. Wasn't a great game.
So did you just play one game that year? Or
two. So I think at the end of the year, we played the Eels and I got knocked out in the first 50 seconds.
God.
I was on the right side of the field again. We sort of didn't really finish close enough for me to kick the ball. So Tommy didn't come around, kicked the ball down the right side, straight to Sevo, ran it back. His shoulder hit me, clean the chin, and I was stiff.
Oh,
gone.
Man. Jesus.
53 seconds.
What sucks about this is, like, so far anyway, you're playing good footy in Q Cup. So, like, it sounds like everything's bad. Like, you're just playing bad footy all the time. But this is just like, you've had 3 games in the NRL and they haven't really gone your way. Well, 2 games essentially.
Yeah, it was tough to cop that one because that game was when I really felt that, like, I was kind of ready. Like, I'd started playing pretty good footy. Like, I was playing really good footy in Cup.
Yep.
And I sort of was like, I think Crofty got knocked out at training during the week, and that's why I was playing.
Yep.
And I was like, ready to go. And then, don't remember the game. Don't remember, because that's when you used to fly in the day of the game and have to fly out.
Oh.
So I don't remember flying. I don't remember going to the airport.
Wow.
I don't remember being on a flight. I don't remember the warm-up. Don't remember running out. Don't remember the kick chase.
Oh, really?
I just remember, the only recollection I have is sitting in the sheds, like, what happened? Like, what happened? What was going on? I was like texting my partner saying like, where are we staying tonight? Like, what's going on? We live together. Like, I was rattled. Like, I was bad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's the only time I've really had a proper
bad.
When I can't remember anything.
Yeah.
I've watched it back, and like as soon as he sort of he like turns a little bit and like just straight there, and like I just go stiff.
Far out. Oh,
so awesome.
Yeah, sounds good.
First 3 games. Great.
Far out.
Great job.
Okay, so that all happens though, and then so 2021 rolls around, and that's when you played a fair few more games.
Yeah.
What was it like under Siebes as a rookie? As a rookie that hadn't played that much games coming in. Was Siebes still there? Or
Nah, so Siebes was the 2019, 2020.
He left by 21.
Yeah, so that's when Kevy took over.
Yeah, okay. So, 2020, what was that like working under Siebes?
It was good. Like, he is very, he knows a lot about the game. Like, it's very detailed in the way he looks at it. So, like, I was learning things at meetings that I had never even heard before.
Yeah.
And, like, it was cool. It was very cool. But for me, because I was never really, like, a chance of sort of playing, like, early.
Yeah.
Kind of just went in one ear and went out the other.
Yeah.
Probably didn't take it as serious as what I should have, because, like, Milf was there, Crofty was there, Tommy Dearden was there.
Yeah.
Like, I was down the pecking order. I was well down the pecking order.
So you're
kind
of like you're sitting there going...
I'm like 4th string.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like the bloke that you don't even think about. Like, he's just there. The top 30 number, you need a bloke to fill it. That was me. That was me. So I was like, didn't really take it too serious. Like, you'd have like your spine meetings and stuff, and like I would go to some, wouldn't go to some others, because I was like, it's not like I'm no chance of really playing it. Like, it's going to take a miracle for whatever happened, like for me to play. I think the 20 years before COVID, like the boys started really good. I think they won 2.
Those few games.
Yeah, they won 2 from 2, and then COVID hit. We didn't play.
Yep.
But yeah, it was just a bad year for everybody. I think that like injuries, like the COVID break, kind of rattled everybody.
Yep.
Don't think we come back as fit as what we could have, and yeah, it just was a bad year. And then like in Brisbane, when you're losing, it's tough. Like, it's not just like you're losing games of footy. Like, everybody's against you. Like, you play for the city kind of thing. Like, when you're losing, and then we weren't just losing, like we were getting beat.
Yeah.
So it was hard to cop. And then you come into training, because it was COVID, all you could do was footy.
Yeah.
You couldn't go do anything because you had to stay home. Like, you had to isolate.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Couldn't take your mind off it. And I think it just ended up taking its toll on everybody. I know that's probably a little bit selfish to say of people, like we were working, still getting paid and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit selfish, but like, when it's all you do and it's not going your way every weekend, even if you trained good or how hard you trained, it was like a slap in the face, like really again.
Yeah.
And then happen the next week, you'd feel like you'd trained good, and it was like again.
Yeah. And the mood's just like
and then it was just sort of like people just going there for this, like, it's so bad to say, we'll just go on there for the sake, like that's our job kind of thing. And it's hard when you're losing games consistently, like to find that motivation to turn up with a smile on your face and like upbeat. And
well, it's like, and that's a tough thing about first grade is like, is that those periods where you've got to find a way through. And unfortunately for you boys, you didn't have a big senior playing group that could really go, this is the direction that we need to head.
Young that year.
You're super, super young. And I used to say it all the time on the potty, I was like, they don't have senior players to go, boys, like, fucking, this is the direction. Like, because when you're young, you just trust the big dogs. Yeah. You're just like, whatever.
You're sort of getting their footsteps and you just
go.
Them. Yeah.
And like people go, oh, you still, of course, I get it. You still have a job. I get all that. Like, for sure, appreciative. But like, I'd ask anyone, if you were at a workplace and you were constantly working terribly, like, like the sky is falling, and then we've got people watching you as well. So everyone's on you. Like, it does get hard to turn up to work. Yeah. Now, imagine your work included, you getting absolutely bashed physically on the weekend.
Yeah.
So everyone's human. Like, people are human. You can't expect them to just be like, yeah, we're sweet, everything's good. Like, it does take a toll on people. And
absolutely.
Go speak to any team that wins the spoon or finishes the bottom of the table. They'll tell you, by the end of the year, we just wanted to start again. We just wanted to refresh.
And it doesn't help because we were like the only thing really happening. Like, every media outlet, every day, there's something about the Broncos.
Yeah.
They're saying about the players that weren't performing.
Yeah.
They were saying about everything. And like, a lot of the boys probably never really read it, but like, if you were to read that about yourself, that's just knocking you down
even further.
Pegs, yeah.
And look, you understand it. You're like, but it doesn't change the fact it's happening. You know what I mean? You're like, look, I get it. We're losing. But at the same time, I've still got to deal with it.
It's not like I want to go out there and lose. I don't train all week to go out there and have 50 points put on me.
Yeah,
that's 100%. The last thing I want.
Yeah,
I can cop losing by 1 or 2. Like, it hurts more, but at least you know you're in the fight. But when you're not even in the fight, that's the bit. And you don't want to give up. But if it's 20 minutes in and you're down 24 points, and like the score's beating the clock, you're sort of like, it's gonna be a long night.
It's gonna be a long night. Just tackling in the washing machine.
Yeah. But,
So did it kind of feel like when Siebes and everything happened and it was, finally done, and you still struggled a little bit, but did it kind of feel like, and this is nothing in reference to Siebes as a coach or whatever, more like, okay, fresh start. Like, is that what Kevy felt when he come in? Like, okay, we can reset here?
I think so, yeah. I think because I think through that preseason, there was a lot of players in and out, or like a lot of players that sort of left and stuff like that. And I think to start that year, we weren't going too well either, that 2021 season.
Yep.
I can't remember what we were. I know I didn't debut, sorry. I played round 8 against the Titans. And I'm not even sure how good we were going before that.
Yeah.
And that was tough because that year I felt like I could help. I could do something. And then when I was told to play that game, or I wasn't told to play, like Kevy said, like, I'm going to give you your shot.
Yep.
It was sort of like now or never, really, because I'd played obviously 3, and this was my 4th year full time, and it was my 4th game. Like, it wasn't like I was playing sort of 10 games a season. Like, it was my 4th game, and he's like, yeah, you've got the 7. Like, all I need you to do is just like kick well and just get us around the field. So like I reckon by him saying that, like those 2 things, like that's all I focused on all week.
Yeah, okay.
It's just like
real simple direction.
Just get us to the last tackle and kick well, and then just talk. And that's what I was like. I'm a bit out there, so I can talk. I feel like I can talk pretty well.
Yeah.
So that's all I did, and I played probably one of my favourite games of NRL to date.
Played really well. I mean, Billy Slater gave you a massive rap. Yeah,
that was probably one of if I was to pinpoint a game in my career that is one of my favourites, it would be that one, because it was a now or never. Because if I didn't play good then and I got dropped, it was probably like, okay, well,
never again.
Yeah, you're probably not going to get another chance. Like you've had three different clubs or 2 different clubs at that time and 4 games, and it hasn't really worked for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I played pretty good that game.
Yeah. And so you play well, and you kind of establish yourself to a degree of like, oh yeah, there's a bit of fight here. And I think that, like, as an ex-player and a fan of the Broncos, I just love like the fact that you're just ripping in, like you're just showing, I don't know.
Pretty competitive.
Yeah. Well, I just like, look, am I the most chirpy bloke on the footy field? No. Is that chirpiness really associated with Brisbane? Like, probably not, outside of maybe Wendell. But I was just, as a Broncos fan, going, at least we're fucking in the fight. At least we're having, we're just fucking in their faces. If he gets one on his chin, who gives a fuck? Like, at least he's fucking in their face. Yeah. 'Cause we just seem to have lacked that for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of, I've always played like that though. Like I've always been competitive. Like, I hate like every NRL player hates losing, but like I hate it. Like hate it so much. I hate losing more than I like winning. I feel like that's like a lot of people, but like if I can do something in a game, and you've obviously seen it, like put somebody off. Like that game, I got Brimo sent off because I fell over, and then I let him know about it too. What else? I think I got into a bit of a push and shove with Jared Wallace after that, who would absolutely destroy me. I think I just walked away.
So are you thinking, look, if I get one on the chin, I get one on the chin, who gives a shit?
I don't even think about it. Like, it just, like, when I do things like that, it just sort of happens. Like, it's not like I go out there pre-game thinking, you know what, I'm going to say something if this dude does something. It just sort of happens. Like, it's not something that is premeditated or anything. Like, it just sort of happens in the spur of the moment. Like, if I make someone make an error, like, I'm more than likely to say something. If I get somebody sent off like I did to Brimo, said something to him as he was going off. But, like, yeah, it all just sort of, I probably calmed it down a little bit the last year, because that year I probably did it a bit too much. Yeah. And I probably gave myself a bit of a bad rap, I guess you could say. Like, everybody just thinks I'm a grub now. Like, that's all I get. You're a grub. You're a wanker. You're a grub. Which is fair enough, because I've portrayed myself like that in more than one instance in the game of footy. So fair enough. But yeah, I'm not really like that. I've tried this since this year. I think I'd had probably 2 instances where, which is still, you think 2, too much anyway. But yeah, there was 2, and they were spaced apart a bit. So
I mean,
I had a little bit.
As I said, the way I saw it was like, if he's willing to do it when he's losing, he has to be willing to do it at all times. You can't just be a front runner and fucking get in people's faces.
Because we were losing at that time. They were up like 20-0 or something, 20-something nil.
And I was like, look, at least we've got some fight here, like just some mongrel on the footy field that, I don't know, because we just needed to claw our way out of this hole that the Broncos are in. So you have a relatively good year that year, but you obviously get sent sin bin.
Twice. I got sin bin against Manly for a high shot and Ruben Garrick. That's when they started cracking down on any high shot.
That was the magic round stuff.
Yeah, so I got done for one earlier in the game, which was like on top of the ball, and it was like any head contact.
Gone.
Whatever. Yeah, sweet. Penalised. And that game was going awful for us as well. And then they have a shift, gets out to the wing, like we've all jammed. I've come across, and he stepped inside me, and I hit him a little bit high, which is like, it's not like a coat hanging him, but I did hit him high. And sin binned. Got told by somebody in that team that I'm a reserve grader and I don't deserve to be on the field, same field as them. I was like, fair play. That was like my 5th or 6th game. Whatever. I was like, starting to feel like that. It's really starting to feel like that.
But I mean, that year, like, although it wasn't a great year for Brisbane, you'd played better footy in first grade at the very least for that year for you personally.
Yeah, I felt like I had a good year. I didn't have a great year, but I felt I proved to myself and the people at Brisbane that I could play NRL, for if they needed me to, kind of thing. Yeah. And that's what I sort of held my hat on going into that. I think it was the 2022 season. Yep.
So 2022 season, you obviously signed with the Knights, but you play obviously more footy. That's also the podcast, 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for listeners that may have forgotten, you're on a podcast. Yeah. And basically you're asked, you basically say Reno is the coach of the team or something along those lines.
I'm trying to refer to Reno as like how good he is as a person. Like people could go to him about the game plan and stuff like that. Like he was so smart as a footy player about like game management and stuff like that people could go to him. Yeah. And I worded it in a way that sort of made Kevy sound it like made out like I was saying Kev was a bad coach. Yeah. Which I come out and said after, like it was portrayed wrong. I worded it wrong, but it's not the message I was trying to get across. Yeah, yeah. But no one cared that I said that because it wasn't fun. But yeah, I was probably the most hated man in Brisbane for a bit there.
Yeah, yeah. Because like when I watched the clip, I was like, it stung me. Obviously, I was like, fuck. Yeah. I was like, oh man, like it's Kevin Walters, like what he's done for this club. But I also understand what you were trying to say. Yeah. Which was like, that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to go to the senior players in a team. Yeah. But it sounded, you know what I mean?
It sounded bad. Like I've listened to it once and I haven't listened to it again. Because I was like, it's the secondhand embarrassment. Like it's not the way, like it just makes, like as I said, how I portray myself. I do something like that and people just think I'm a wanker again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's not the way, like it's not what I meant to do. Yeah. But it's the way it was come out. And I tell you what, that was the weirdest time because is it right at the end of the season that it come out. So I think I did it a month before and it come out the last game of the season when I was picked. Yeah. Because I hadn't been playing for a bit there and I got picked the last game of the season and that come out and then it was just torture. Yeah. I think I woke up to a call from Reno saying like, what'd you say? I was like, what did I say when I just woke up? Like, what do you mean? He's like, in a podcast. I was like, man, I've no idea. I haven't done a podcast. Yeah. And then it come out and that day I called Kevin, like apologise and was like, mate, it's not, I understand like the way it looks, but I just apologise because it's not the way I wanted it to be. Yeah,
and Kevy's like he gave you that shot in round 8, 21. You know.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I've said it in other things before. Like without Kevy, I probably don't play NRL, or like I don't get that opportunity. So it's not. I would not bag him ever. Like as I said, without him, I don't play. Yeah. Without him, I don't get the opportunity to play. Without him, I don't get the opportunity to sign to the Knights. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It was never anything personal. Like it's not like I was trying to bag him out. That's what the message I was trying to get across every time I do an interview about it, but it was too late. Yeah, too late. But that was hard though because like it was the last game too, and we needed to win. Yeah, and it was like, well, are you going to drop him? Are you going to like? Because am I going to play? Or the next day at training was the most awkward thing because like that's when you had to do all your COVID tests and that before you got in. Oh, really? And I was doing mine and Kevy got there and then Katoni's in his car, like making jokes about it, waiting to get the all clear to come in, like laughing at me. Payne's doing the same thing and I was like, bro. So I went to Kevy and I was like, mate, I gave like a hug and I was like, mate, I'm so sorry. And he's like, yeah, I understand. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be a tough day at training.
Yeah.
In the meeting, Kevy made a joke about it, and I was like, oh. After training, Kevy made a joke about it, and then Katoni made a joke about it, and I was like at least it was kind of at the point where they were making jokes about it. Like, it wasn't too weird, but like, I felt bad for Kev because that's not who he was, and we were playing better than the year we were before.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of thing. And
anyone that knows Kevy, like, he's one of the boys. Like, he's a coach, and like 100%, like, he's a coach. What he says goes, but he's definitely one of the boys.
100%.
Oh, definitely one of the boys.
Yeah, a Broncos legend.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like I was, and it's so hard to talk about because like I can say it's not the way I meant it as much as I want, but it's not, and it's like, oh, you're saying that because how it
turned out. And that, yeah.
Is what it is.
Mate, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, Kevy, absolute the man. So you signed with Knights. Why did that happen? How did it come about? All that kind of stuff.
So halfway through the 2022 season, I wasn't dropped. So I have an injury. I have a stress fracture in my shin.
Yep.
And when the club found out about that, they were like, oh, like, you can't play. Like, you're not allowed to play. And I was like, oh, righto. Like, obviously I was pretty stressed about it. I was like, what? Never heard of that ever. Yep. So I got, I wasn't even allowed to train. Like, I had to go to see doctors. I had to get scans, like MRIs, everything like that.
Yeah.
Had to go see surgeons.
Yeah, wow.
And then after I saw a couple surgeons, they were like, you could still run. Like, we see this a lot in like jumping sports, like basketball, netball, things like that. So you can still play, but it's just a pain thing. So if you can deal with the pain, no dramas, you're sweet. They looked at all my x-rays and stuff, said the bone's still like really strong. Like, there's a little crack in there kind of thing, but like, it is what it is. So they said, it's up to you. If you want to play, you can play. So I got the all clear, and then the lawyers at Brisbane wouldn't let me train.
Yeah, wow.
Then they were, for some reason, they thought if I broke it, I was gonna sue them. Like, I wasn't really involved in any of the chats about it all, but this is kind of what the secondhand news I was getting from like people that were involved in it as well. And I was like, it happened. So I didn't play for 4 weeks. I wasn't allowed to train. The surgeon said
you weren't even allowed to play Q Cup or anything.
I wasn't allowed to train.
That's what's weird is like, what I don't get with that is kind of like, if they wanted you to leave, they could have just come to you and said,
yeah, well, I don't think they wanted me to leave because I started another year on my contract. So I had 2 years there, and I was playing good footy. I think we had won 6 straight at that time. Like, we were looking pretty good. And then had this, and then I don't think they wanted me to leave, but they were just worried about if I broke my leg. Like, they were worried about. So
it was a genuine concern.
Yeah, genuine concern.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, if you looked at it like, oh, they were just trying to put you in a position where you're like.
Nah, it never felt like that, and it wasn't like that. It was just like, there was genuine concern that if I broke it, they were like, oh, he may never play again and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's
like,
hectic.
holy.
Yeah, wow.
But like, I saw 3 surgeons, and all 3 of them said, like, the worst thing you can do is to completely deload your leg, like completely stop running, because if you do that, then it'll start to heal.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't let me run. So I was deloading it.
Yeah, they must have got advice from a specialist saying.
Well, it was weird. So I didn't really know what was happening. Like, it was the club, my management, all this other sort of thing. I was just there. I was just like the bloke over here that wasn't allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
So that was that was tough to cop because I was playing good footy. Like, we had won 6 straight, and I was playing all right footy. I was doing my job, and we won 6 straight. Like, we were in the top 8, and we were going pretty well. And then I wasn't allowed to play for a month.
Yeah, wow.
Which is kind of a bit of a slap in the face. Like, not even necessarily just being like not playing NRL, but I wasn't allowed to play at all.
Yeah, they must have got advice.
There was obviously something going on, and I didn't really want to know about it. I just wanted to know if I could play.
Yeah, okay.
That's all I wanted to do. I just kept saying, like, I don't care. Just let me play. At least let me train.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't think I trained or played for a month, 5 weeks or something like that. And then when I was allowed to, I hadn't played for 5 weeks, so I wasn't just going to walk straight back into the NRL team.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to Cup. But that was weird because I found out I had a fracture in my leg. So I was like limping when I was running because I didn't know about it, and I was sort of sweet. And then they told me, oh yeah, you've got a stress fracture in your leg, like.
What?
And everybody was so worried about it. And I was like, and then when I went back to running, because I hadn't done it for so long, like, I felt like the pain was worse.
Oh, so hang on a sec. So when you went back, you found out you had a stress fracture?
No, so I found out before, and then I had the 4 or 5 weeks off because the club wouldn't let me play. And then when I got cleared to play again, I went back to running, And because it had started to heal, like it was more painful when I was running because it was like breaking again.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So because you'd been inactive.
Yeah, and the bone itself started to heal.
Yeah. Okay. It
And
started
then I went
hurting
back
more
to
and
running because I wasn't meant to just completely not run.
Yeah.
It started hurting a lot more, and I was running with a limp, and I had to wear like a big hockey shin pad on my leg.
But that's interesting because they've clearly got conflicting advice.
Yeah,
and in their mind, they're sitting there going, "Well, see what happened. That happened. We thought that was going to happen if you went back to training. We were worried that could happen. But in your specialist mind that spoke to you, they're saying it happened because you weren't running.
Yeah, it was a real weird situation. And it's still hard for me to wrap my head around because I'm not a surgeon. Like I'm a football player.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not very tackle blokes and I run at blokes. Like that's it. Like they were all having their conversations and stuff. And it hurt me that I got the all clear from the surgeon. So I thought once I got the all clear from them, who clearly know that I'd be able to play, and then it just didn't work that way. But yeah, I played cup for the rest of that year until the last round where we needed to win that game. I think we lost to the Dragons. And we finished 9th that year. But it was a really weird year. But halfway through that, not halfway, sort of like at the back end of that year, my management and I were like, I think because Ezra started playing and Ezra was killing it.
Yeah,
he's a freak.
Yeah,
and he was killing it. And I sort of was like, well, I'm probably not going to play next year. I don't really want to stay and be a backup after, I feel like I'm at that time of my career where I want to be starting.
Yep.
And we got permission from the Broncos to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then the Knights were keen. A few other teams were keen, but I'd played at the Knights earlier that year in Newcastle. And I sort of fell in love with the place. Newcastle's awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's a cool spot to live. And I was like, I think I called my manager. I was like if anything ever happens and I have to move back to Sydney, like Newey's the spot. And then 6 months later, I'd signed a deal at Newcastle.
Far out, down at Newey, eh?
Yeah. So it was a weird way to get to Newcastle because I had to break my contract and get permission to leave. But like the club was pretty sweet with it too. Like they would realise like that if I stayed, I was just going to be the backup.
Yeah. And I don't know if the club expected Ezra to explode that quickly.
I'm not sure. He was killing it at training.
Yeah.
Like he could do some things that I've never seen people do before either.
I reckon though, when let's say they go into 2022 with their top 30, they're probably going, Ezra's 2-3 years away.
I think he was 19, so
2-3 years away from hitting his, so they're probably thinking, okay, well, Tyson is going to be our guy there, and then he explodes. So
that cup year, Ezra was like, I think he had like...
Killed it.
Like 15 tries, like 7 or 8 games. Like it was just ridiculous. So definitely deserved to like get the opportunity. And then when he got the opportunity, took it with both hands and like... You saw the year he had this year after only playing 14 games the year before.
Yeah.
So it was a good decision from both parties. I reckon.
For sure.
It worked out better for them. Like Ezra killed it for the year they made the grand final. And then it worked out for me. I got to play consistent NRL with the most games I've ever played. And like we finished 5th. We won 9 games. Yeah. Finished the season. So definitely a business decision I was happy I made.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to experience that Newey run.
Yeah.
Like, such a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. After the year we had where we were sitting when we started, like I think we were 14th, won 9 straight and finished 5th.
So good.
And there was a couple games in there as a club that we think we probably could have won. Because I think we finished a game or 2 outside the 4. And like obviously we spoke about earlier, that Penrith game at home.
Bronx game where we got that lucky try.
Yeah. The Penrith game was probably the one that hurt the most because we had missed 2 conversions and they won by a point.
Yeah, okay.
If we kicked those conversions, like it doesn't even get close to extra point. The Broncos game, like we were up, I think, 8 points or something with like 7 minutes to go. That game was probably one of the hardest I've ever played. Like that, from the first kickoff of that game, they rolled us 60 metres. We got the ball, rolled them 60 metres, and it was just exactly like that the whole game. Time. There was like barely any defence.
Yeah.
Like I think... Yeah, well, we were up with 8 points, whatever, with 8 minutes to go.
And they just went bang,
I can't remember the first try they scored, but I think we'd missed 2 conversions as well that game, and we lost by 4.
Yeah.
So I mean, you kick those 24 all, like who knows what happens. Yeah. To be fair, they have Renault, who's one of the best field goal kickers ever. I'd say. But you never know. And then we had a few games where we lost by 2. We drew with Manly and Mudgee. Yep. That was another one. I think we had missed conversions that game. We had shots that have it as a field goal. I think they missed conversions as well. So like you never know. Then we lose to the Roosters at home by 2. Yeah, just like there's a lot of games that were so close, like 2 and 4 points that you look at and you think, well, a chance. Like if we win 1 or 2 more of those,
Yeah.
you sit in the top 4.
Yeah.
And like towards the back end of the year in the run, like we had games where we played awful. Like when we played the Dolphins in Perth, like we got away with a win there.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're winning, you learn how to win.
Yeah.
Like if you're like we were losing at that time, we would have learned how. Like you learn to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost in like a mindset kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think we won that game 30-28.
Yeah, that was when
Kalen kicked a goal like right at the end.
Hold in the scrum, and it was like 20 meters away from the play. It was like, what?
Yeah. Made no sense.
No sense.
No sense.
But you used to sit there going,
I'm going, yes.
Sweet.
Thank God. But yeah, just different things like that. I think there was another close game in that. Probably the Canberra game as well.
Yeah.
Probably, if you look at that, we probably deserved to lose that. Like we played bad.
They played really, really well.
After the 2 games we played against them, and we sort of beat them, not convincingly the first time, but we beat them there. And the second time we played really good and beat them in Canberra.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the tries that they were scoring on us, I feel like were tries we were stopping 4 weeks before.
Yeah.
And I think, you know how sometimes when they talk about a team needs a loss before you go into finals?
Yeah.
Probably what we needed, like a little kick up the arse kind of thing. Because you can get a little bit complacent when you're winning and not focus on things that are such a big deal.
Yeah.
But
you don't want to be rolling. Like I know people have won on streaks, but fuck, you don't want to be rolling on like a 15-game win streak. Yeah. You're just almost waiting for the loss to come.
Yeah. And then our performances to finish the year probably turned into what happened against the Warriors. Like we played bad against the Raiders, and then we played worse against the Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
for the next 12 months, you've obviously got Cogger coming to the club.
Yeah.
And you almost feel like, oh fuck, just want to have a good year, and now there's more pressure on the position.
Yeah.
I think he's more of a 7 than a 6, but I'm assuming he'll play whatever. Is it just basically like, look, I'm used to this by now. I'm just going to fight.
Yeah, most years I've had at a club, I've had to fight for a spot.
Yeah.
So it's not really news to me, and I'd prefer it that way. Like if I feel like you can go into seasons a little bit complacent if there's not somebody pushing for a jersey.
Yeah.
Or like there's not another player that's played a lot of NRL that's ready to go. And like he's coming off like the grand final where I feel like personally that if he doesn't go on, they might not win.
I agree. I don't think
like
they win.
Some of the things he did playing on the footy to free Nathan up were like crazy.
He played so well. I was like, do you play Cleary at 6 for Origin? Like that's how much I was like.
He played really good. Really good. And I think like the move, like he's like the fresh legs coming on too in a game that was physical and it was fast. Like it was crazy. Like I think those fresh legs on a bloke that like a half playing near the ruck. I think the first try, Nathan Cleary's try that he passed back into Leota, like his speed with the ball to stop, I think whoever the defender was, and then Ezra had to check the lead or someone had to check the lead.
Yeah, I think it was Capewell.
Yeah.
And Ezra did.
And like just the speed that he got the ball, fresh legs, like if it's sort of hard to do that 60 minutes in when you've been running around. You're almost at sort of 7-8 Ks already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. But he played really well in that. And I think it's good for us in a preseason sort of aspect. Like you're not sure who's going to play there. So I think all 3 of us will get positions and training with each other because you just never know what happens.
Yeah.
Like he might play 7 and I play 6 and then Jacko 7 and him 6 and like we just see what works for the team because you just never know what happens. Like I'm not sure what's going to happen round 1, but if everybody's going to be fit and ready to go, or if there's injuries or something like that, like sort of proved throughout the year. Like with Kalen he was training at 6 like this year, and he got injured. Like I had to go there, but it was just lucky that I had a lot of time with Jacko, and then Jacko at the end of the year, like Adam Clune come in and played a few games. Like you just never know what's going to happen. So it's good for the team. Like competition for spots is always good.
Absolutely.
Especially with a bloke like that, as I said, just won the premiership.
Yeah.
Coming off a really good year at Penrith. Like he's not coming here to play reserve grade.
Yeah, for sure.
Like he's coming for a spot. And like regardless of how good Jack and I played last year for the team, like we got to be on our toes because it's not going to be something that happens easy for us, which again is good for Newcastle.
Yeah. Mate, ask all the boys this, favourite rapper of all time.
Favourite rapper of all time? All time, Jesus. I'm a big J. Cole fan.
Cole?
Yeah, I'm a big J. Cole fan.
His verse on the latest Drake song is hectic.
I love J. Cole, man. Like I've loved him since I was a kid. It's a bit weird. Most people don't really think I listen to rap, probably country, but...
So you're a rap man?
But honestly, my playlist can go anywhere.
Any direction?
Anywhere. Like you ask a brother, it's probably in there.
Okay.
Except a bit of heavy metal, maybe not that. But
not heavy.
I got country, rap, like whatever you're after.
Okay, all right.
Especially my drive down was interesting. I got through some verses, put it that way, by myself. I got through some great ones.
What's J. Cole's best album then?
Jeez.
Because he's only doing one more, isn't he? The Fall Off.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't pin down it to one, bro. I can't do it.
Because he's got the Forest Hill Drive.
Forest Hill Drive's my favorite. Because that's when I was like in high school, and that was like, he was the man. And that was probably my favorite. That's probably the most songs that I've got of his.
Yeah.
On my playlist and that. Probably Forest Hills Drive, but it's a tough one. That is a tough one though.
Fucking oath it is, because he only releases quality.
Yeah. He's not very, as you said, doesn't do too much. So,
favorite movie of all time?
Movie of all time. That's even harder because I'm a big movie guy, like a big movie guy. Like
what first came to mind? The first thing you thought.
See, I'm a mad at like Avengers kind of guy. So
Endgame
was hectic for me.
Endgame's hectic.
Endgame, like I'm a big.
But it's gone shit now.
Yeah,
it's gone
downhill.
shit.
Ever since that, it's gone like downhill.
Literally, like that was the Endgame for Marvel for me.
Yeah, and the movies that have come out haven't been great.
Yeah,
haven't been great at all. But I like probably not of all time, but I'm a big fan of The Blind Side.
Love The Blind Side.
Grouse movie.
Man,
sport movie, hectic.
Devastated me hearing that like someone's suing someone from that movie. I was like,
that sort of took me by surprise. But it's hard to think of all the movies I've watched because I reckon I've watched that many movies. I'll rewatch them like that many times. Just cause.
What's your most rewatched then?
Men in Black.
Yeah, great movie.
Probably the second one.
Yeah,
just cause it's always on Netflix. It's always there, like continue watching or like recently watched to that, and like it's one of the things you put on in the background, like when I'm doing something.
Yeah,
like I'll be on my phone watching it, and it still makes me laugh. Like
I love that shit. How they did my boy Will at the moment, his missus. Like,
there's a lot going on there,
mate. Yeah. He was like brass.
He was the man.
Stand up for yourself, please.
Say something
for the love of God.
She said some things that are just completely
so crook.
Out of this world.
So crook.
You can't say that about somebody else. And
like especially your husband.
It's such a public like it's gonna be a big thing. It's not like it's gonna see a few people. Like it's massive.
It's Will Smith you're talking about.
Yeah,
you're not talking about fucking Joe Blow from the pub.
Yeah. Crazy.
Crazy. Mate, thank you so much for coming on the potty. That was awesome. And I can't I thought you were outstanding this year. Thought you were really good and I can't wait to watch you in 2024.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Boom.